I think the one thing was my mentor in New Orleans was my executive sous chef when I started off as a line cook at Dominica, Todd Balsanelli. He saw the drive I had, and he knew I was very new in the game, and I did a lot of reading. Right, I moved up fairly quickly there, and I worked hard there. And I asked him, I was like, "Yo, can I?" I was like, "I think I need to go to culinary school." I was like, "I think that's what I need to do. I want to be the best. I want to do this." And he looked at me, and he pulled me aside. He goes, "Listen, if you're in it, he's, I'm going to give you books, okay?" And he's like, "I'm going to give you I'm going to give you books in this order." And he's like, "Just study." He's like, "I'll teach you everything you need to know." He's like, "You're good, okay?" He's like, "I promise you." We worked very hard, and the last book he gave me was David Chang's Fuku, his cookbook, and he was like, "This is the last one," and he's like, "I think you would do very well in New York," and he's like, "I think you kind of have that in you," and he's like, "I want you to read this book." He's like, "This is one of my favorite books," and he's like, "I think this would be," and it just come out. He's like, "I think this would be a very good book for you." I read it, and that was all she wrote. I literally walked up to him, and I was like, "I gotta go to New York." I was like, "Dude, I gotta go work for this guy." I was like, "I gotta be there," and it happened. And I got to work for him, and it took me a year and a half to. I still was in New Orleans. It took me a year and a half to get up there and get there for him, but I was able to do it. And that was a literal sign for me. When he gave me, that was the last book he gave me, and and he was like, "Yo, this is. I think this is it. This is the book. The Momofuku. This is the one that I think is who you are." So I owe a lot to him, and yeah, that was a literal sign to me. And I did it. I made it, and I was able to work for David Chang.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What
yeah,
a
it was
story.
really cool.
First of
It was
all,
really cool.
kudos to that guy for taking the time and doing that. Just that alone. Like that's amazing. That someone could be so selfless and to take their time out of their life to do that. A. And then B, for you to connect and kind of like know and trust that gut instinct. What was that like from that moment that you had that gut instinct, like, oh yeah, I got to work for this guy, to getting there? You said a year and a half. So how did you go about getting a job there?
Well, first, after I read it, like I kind of like, it was my favorite. Obviously I read it and I freaked out. I was like, "Oh my God, this book is amazing." I wouldn't shut up about it. And, I still had some learning to do though. I knew I wasn't quite there. I didn't want to jump the gun, right? I didn't want to come up too early and fail, and because once you fail, it's hard to get back. Like you have that sense of failure, and it's hard for people to give it a second shot. I knew I still had some learning to do with Todd, and I really enjoyed Chef Todd. He was, like I said, he was my mentor. He taught me everything, all my beginning steps of being a chef. I owe it to him. And I felt like I wasn't quite done learning from him. But the book spoke to me, and I just kind of knew, like, I'm going to work for this guy. Like, I'm going to get up here at some point when I feel like I'm ready. And like I said, it took a year and a half for me to get there. And I grew in New Orleans. I made it all the way up to an exec sous chef position for John Besh and his restaurant group. And that was kind of all she wrote. And then, when I was ready, I talked to Todd. Like I asked, Todd was always in the communication with me, and like we're good buddies today. Like I still talk with Todd. I asked him, I pulled him aside. I was like, "Chef, you think I'm ready? Think I can do this?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "You got it." He's like, and I just started applying. And they took me a couple months, and they finally wrote me back, and I got up for a trail. And so I flew up, did a trail. And that was all she wrote. Did the trail. They accepted me 2 weeks later, packed my bags, moved up.
Love it. Love it.